I keep thinking about that night. Not the man, not even the yelling, but the way my boyfriend, Drew, looked at me afterward. Almost like I embarrassed him. Or worse, surprised him. My name is Olivia, I'm 33, and I used to feel brave. Strong. Like I could take up space in the world without apologizing for it. I used to laugh so hard I cried. I used to kiss like I meant it. But lately, I feel like I've shrunk into a smaller version of myself. We were out that night for a friend's birthday. Rooftop bar, half-lit fairy lights strung along the railings, a little too loud, a little too crowded. Drew stood off to the side with the other guys, nursing an overpriced whiskey. I was near the bar when it happened. The man was swaying before he even reached me. Stale beer on his breath. One of those guys who thinks proximity equals permission. He brushed against my hip. I stepped aside. He grabbed my arm. I said, "Hey, don't." He laughed like it was a joke. But it wasn't. And then, out of nowhere, this guy, young, maybe mid-20s, steps between us, and just snaps, "Stay away from her." His voice cut through the music like a blade. People turned. The drunk guy slurred something and stumbled off. I stood there blinking. Frozen. Not because I needed saving, I didn't. But because someone noticed. Someone saw me uncomfortable and acted like it mattered. And then I looked toward Drew. He didn't come to me. Didn't ask if I was okay. Just gave me that half-nod men give each other when they're too cool to react. We'd been together 7 years. 7. And in that moment, I felt lonelier than I ever had in my life. It wasn't always like this. When we met, Drew was magnetic. Smart, quietly confident, always holding the back of my neck when we kissed, like he meant it. He made me feel chosen. Like I could exhale around him. The first few years were golden. We had our fights, but the make-up sex was intense. We used to text each other filthy things in the middle of work meetings. Inside jokes, road trips, surprise kisses in grocery store aisles. It felt like we were building something. Then, slowly, it became routine. Not the comforting kind, more like obligation disguised as affection. His kisses got shorter. His, "I love you," started sounding like reminders. He held me, but it felt like he was holding me still, not close. The worst part? I let it happen. I made excuses. I told myself we were tired, busy, older. I adjusted my expectations downward like I was negotiating with gravity. The night after the bar, I brought it up. I said I felt invisible. He said, I didn't want to make a scene. And I just nodded. He reached for me in bed that night, like it was routine. A hand sliding over my hip, lips at my neck, but there was no tension. No heat. No want. Just an unspoken expectation. I let him hold me, but I stared at the ceiling, my chest tight. Not from anger. From mourning. Because I missed something I couldn't even name anymore. I keep coming back to the look on Drew's face when that guy yelled. Like I was overreacting. Like it wasn't that serious. And maybe to him, it wasn't. But to me, it was the first time in a long time someone treated me like I mattered. And that's when I realized something had shifted, not in one night, but over years. Not because of that drunk man. But because I stood there, scared and shaken, and the man I loved did nothing. And it didn't even surprise me. That's the moment. That's when I knew something had changed. Drew is a trauma surgeon. And I don't say that to impress anyone, honestly, I used to say it with pride. It's not glamorous like people think. The hours are brutal. The stress is constant. He comes home smelling like antiseptic, hands dry from scrubbing in and out of surgeries, mine still somewhere in a hospital corridor. I used to admire it. How he could compartmentalize. Stay calm under pressure. Be the hero. But somewhere along the way, he started treating me like I was another shift to manage. Another mess to clean up after. He's always been physical. That's his love language, touch. A hand on the small of my back, brushing my thigh when we sit on the couch, pulling me into him at night before he falls asleep in 2 minutes flat. But me? I need words. Emotion. Presence. I need someone to see me. Last week, I came home late from work. My own job at the nonprofit had me chasing deadlines, and I was visibly worn out. I didn't even take my shoes off, just slumped on the edge of the bed and buried my face in my hands. Drew came up behind me and started kissing my neck. "Hey," he murmured, voice low. "You've been gone all day. I missed this." I stiffened. Not because I didn't want him, but because I wanted to be asked how I was first. I wanted him to notice the heaviness in my shoulders, the way I hadn't even dropped my bag. I wanted care, not contact. "I'm really tired, babe," I said softly. He didn't stop. Just whispered, "Then let me take your mind off it." His hands moved to my waist. And that's when something in me snapped. "Do you even see me right now, Drew?" I asked, standing up abruptly. "Or am I just your stress relief too?" He blinked, genuinely confused. "What?" "I'm just trying to be close to you." "But it's always like this," I said. "When you want to be close. When you're in the mood. You don't even ask if I'm okay first. You never check in anymore, you just go straight to touching me." His face tightened, and he turned away, running a hand through his hair. "Jesus, Liv. I'm trying. I'm working 60 hours a week, I come home and still try to be affectionate, and now that's a problem too." "That's not affection," I said quietly. "That's habit. You touch me so you don't have to talk to me." He didn't sleep in bed that night. Said he was too tired for a fight. Slept on the couch with a blanket half tucked under him, TV still playing something he didn't finish. In the morning, he left early for a surgery and didn't wake me. And I laid there in our bed, arms curled around a pillow, wondering how love could feel so much like being alone. The next evening, he brought home flowers. My favorite ones, white tulips. He placed them in a chipped vase on the kitchen table like it was an apology. Then he pulled me in for a hug. It should have felt sweet. Soft. Safe. But it felt like being handled. Like someone holding a box marked fragile, without reading what was inside. And the worst part? I didn't say anything. I let the petals wilt over the next few days without changing the water. We used to meet each other halfway. Now I feel like I'm waving across a distance only I can see. And sometimes, like when that stranger yelled, "Stay away from her," I remember what it's like to be instinctively protected. Not touched for comfort, but defended out of respect. Seen in a moment of discomfort and valued. Drew still thinks the problem is sex. But it's not. It's that I can't remember the last time he looked at me like he still knows me. And I don't know how to explain that without it sounding like rejection. But God. All I want is to be wanted for me, not just my body. Not just the quiet, compliant version of myself I've learned to become around him. And when I think back to that rooftop, to that night, to that voice yelling on my behalf, I realize I haven't felt that visible in years. It was a Sunday. The kind of day that used to be ours. Drew was off call for once. The house smelled like coffee and warm dust, soft sunlight cutting through the kitchen blinds. We'd cleaned together that morning, half laughing over clutter, playing our old playlist in the background. For a few hours, it felt okay. Familiar. After lunch, we collapsed on the couch. I curled my legs under me, absently scrolling through my phone while he watched something on mute. His hand found my thigh. I didn't move. Not at first. Then it drifted higher. He murmured, leaning over, pressing his lips to my shoulder. You smell good. I froze for a second, just a flicker of tension in my neck, but he didn't notice. Or maybe he did and brushed past it. His hand slid around to my waist, pulling me toward him. Let's go upstairs for a bit, he whispered. I turned my face toward him, tried to smile. I'm just not in the mood right now. He didn't pull away. Just gave me that boyish grin that used to undo me. I can help with that. Then he kissed me. Slow. Familiar. Confident. And I kissed him back, because I remembered wanting this once. Because I wanted to want it now. But I felt nothing. Or worse, wrong. His tongue brushed mine and all I could think about was the pan in the sink. The laundry I hadn't folded. The awkward moment last night when he grabbed my ass walking past me and I flinched like he'd shocked me. He deepened the kiss. I pulled back. Hey, I said gently, forcing a light tone. Can we just chill for a sec? Watch the movie? His brow furrowed. We've been watching the movie. Yeah, I don't want to feel like everything leads somewhere. He sighed, sat back. Jesus, Liv. I'm not trying to pressure you. I'm just showing you I love you. I know. I looked down at my hands. It's just, he waited. But I couldn't finish the sentence. He stood up, grabbed his coffee cup. Forget it. And I let him walk out of the room. Because I didn't know how to explain the war inside me, that I missed him and felt smothered at the same time. That his touch made my skin buzz but not in the way it used to. That I didn't know how to reconnect without feeling like I was giving something up. I sat there alone on the couch, fingers pressed to lips that still felt like his kiss. And the thought came sharp, tired, bitter, why does everything have to turn into sex? We were out to dinner, our make-up night, Drew called it. A new Italian place. Candlelight, soft jazz, something about the clink of real glassware and other couples murmuring around us. It was meant to be romantic. A reset. He reached across the table to hold my hand. His thumb stroked the back of mine. I missed this, he said. And I smiled. Or at least tried to. We'd barely ordered when he started talking about his latest patient. A 6-car pile-up. Emergency surgery. A kid with a collapsed lung. I nodded through the whole thing, murmured the right sympathetic words, because I've always admired what he does. But something inside me was vibrating. Tight. It had been for weeks. When the food came, he poured me a glass of wine. You're quiet tonight, he said, half smiling. Still mad at me? No, I said quickly. Too quickly. I'm just tired. But he wouldn't drop it. Is this still about the bar thing? That was weeks ago, Liv. I looked up slowly. The bar thing? He leaned back in his chair. I didn't mean it like that. I don't do well with public drama. I didn't think you wanted a scene. A scene? I said, louder than I meant to. You mean like a strange man grabbing my arm while you stood 10 feet away and did nothing? Drew froze. His fork hovered midair. Okay. We're not doing this here. No, you're right, I said, laughing bitterly. Let's not talk about the fact that I felt safer with a stranger than with my own boyfriend. His jaw tightened. Liv, come on. And just like that, something in me cracked open. You keep touching me like it means something, I said, voice trembling. But you haven't actually seen me in months, Drew. You don't ask me how I am. You don't listen. You just touch me like that fixes everything. People had started to glance over. I saw the flickers of movement, heads turning, couples pausing mid-bite, but I couldn't stop. I felt scared that night. I felt small. And you looked at me like I was overreacting. Like I embarrassed you. That moment stuck with me. And every time you come home and kiss me without looking me in the eye, I feel like I'm back there. Like I'm just someone you expect to be okay. Drew didn't say anything. He just stared at me, stunned. Hurt. Angry. I couldn't even tell. Then he looked away and muttered, "Jesus." I stood up. Grabbed my coat. Left the half-eaten ravioli, the glass of wine, the quiet hum of the restaurant. I cried in the car. Ugly, messy crying. The kind that steals your breath. Not just because I was angry, but because I'd ruined something. Because I couldn't hold it together anymore. Because somewhere deep down, I wanted that to be a nice night. I wanted him to reach me, and I wanted to let him. But instead, I pushed him away. In public. With words I couldn't take back. What the hell is wrong with me? Why can't I just be grateful? Why can't I just feel what I used to feel? I stared at the steering wheel, chest heaving, cold fingers wiping tears that just kept coming. And under all the guilt, all the confusion, one quiet, unbearable thought pulsed like a bruise. Maybe I don't feel safe with him anymore. And that scared me more than anything. The house changed. Not all at once, but in the quiet, soul-numbing ways. Fewer lights left on. No music playing while we cooked. The shared laughter that used to bounce off the walls went still, like someone had muted the color in our lives. Drew started coming home later. I knew he wasn't cheating. He's not that kind of man. He's the kind who throws himself into work when he doesn't know how to fix something. When he doesn't feel wanted. I think that's what I made him feel, unwanted. And that thought kills me. One night, I passed him in the hallway. He was coming out of the shower, hair damp, towel slung over his shoulder. Our eyes met, and for a second, there was something there. But he just nodded. Said, "Hey." Like I was a coworker. We'd stopped touching altogether. Not just sex, touch. No shoulder brushes. No goodnight kisses. He started sleeping with his back to me. And I didn't reach out. A week after the fight, I found him sitting at the edge of our bed, staring at the floor, still wearing his scrubs. "I'm sorry," I said softly. He nodded but didn't look at me. I was unfair, I added, at dinner. I said things in the wrong way. He swallowed, his jaw tightening. "You said how you felt." I said it like I hated you. His lips parted, but he closed them again. And then finally, "I'm not good at the things you need." "I know that." "You used to be," I whispered. He looked up at me then, tired, bloodshot eyes, the weight of 1,000 nights behind them. "Maybe I just had more in me back then. Or maybe you didn't need as much." That hurt more than I expected. Because it wasn't cruel. It was honest. Since then, we've lived like polite strangers. We talk about groceries, the dog, his schedule, the tax refund. But never us. And the silence isn't peaceful. It's sharp. I catch myself watching him sometimes, his hands typing on his laptop, the way he absent-mindedly hums while washing dishes. I remember those same hands tracing my spine, remember that humming when he made breakfast shirtless, kissing me mid-sentence. I miss him. God, I miss him. But I don't know how to reach him anymore. Because I'm not even sure what I'm asking for. Love? Attention? Proof? I caught him standing in the doorway yesterday, just staring at the photos on our wall. One of them was from a trip to Asheville. We'd gotten caught in the rain and laughed until our teeth chattered. I stood there behind him, hidden by the corner. He wiped at his eyes. Barely. A quick swipe. And I realized I'm not the only one hurting. I sat with that feeling all night. I wanted to walk into the living room, crawl into his lap, and say, "Let's just be messy together." But the wall between us feels like it's made of shame. Still, I keep thinking about how he looked at those photos. About how I used to feel with him. And how maybe, we're both still holding some small, bruised part of that in our hands, just afraid to offer it up. So I sit at the edge of the bed tonight, knees pulled to my chest. The quiet feels louder than ever. And I know I have to choose. Do I try again, risk being vulnerable, soft, real? Or do I finally admit that something broke between us, and quietly begin to walk away? I close my eyes, press my forehead to my knees, and whisper into the silence, I still want you. I just don't know how anymore. ChatGPT said, that night, I sat at the kitchen table long after the lights were off. The hum of the fridge was the only sound. Drew hadn't come to bed. Again. I found him on the couch, curled awkwardly under a throw blanket, feet dangling off the edge. One arm across his chest, the other tucked under his cheek like a child. He was still in his work clothes, shoes kicked off but shirt still buttoned, rumpled. I stood there for a long time just watching him. He looked so tired. Not just from work, from us. From everything we hadn't said. From how heavy love gets when no one remembers how to carry it. In the morning, I made coffee. The kind he likes, black, strong, barely sweetened. He shuffled into the kitchen, eyes puffy, hair a mess. Paused when he saw the mug waiting on the counter. I don't know where we are anymore, I said, before I could lose the nerve. He didn't sit. Just stood there holding the cup like it might break if he moved wrong. I know, he said. Quiet. Me either. We didn't look at each other. Not yet. I miss you, I said. But I don't feel safe with you the way I used to. Not because you're cruel. But because, you stopped seeing me. He nodded slowly. You're right. I think I stopped seeing myself, too. Something about that cracked the space between us. He came to me, carefully, cautiously. Then sat beside me. Close, but not assuming. He didn't reach for my hand. Just sat there. After a while, I leaned my head on his shoulder. His body was still stiff, unsure. But then he rested his cheek lightly against my hair. And for a minute, neither of us spoke. There were no promises. No grand gestures. Just two people trying to find the thread again in the quiet. That night, we didn't have sex. We didn't even kiss. But when we went to bed, he slipped in beside me. Not for show. Not for habit. Just to be there. He didn't touch me, not right away. But before falling asleep, he reached out and took my hand under the covers. His thumb ran gently along the edge of my palm. I don't want to lose you, he said into the dark. And I whispered, then let's learn how to hold each other again. Without rushing. He didn't answer. But he didn't let go. It's not a perfect ending. It's not even an ending. It's a beginning, maybe. One with quieter love. Slower hands. New rules. But for the first time in a long time, I believe we might still have something worth rebuilding. And I think, maybe, he does too. You know what no one tells you? That love doesn't die in some grand explosion. It fades in the spaces between small misunderstandings. In tired silences. In kisses that start to feel routine. I used to think desire was about sex. But it's not. Desire is about being seen. It's about someone knowing your storms and still choosing to stand in the rain with you. I spent a long time mistaking his touch for closeness, because that's what we're taught, to equate hands on skin with intimacy. But I've learned you can be held without being felt. And you can feel completely alone lying next to someone who swears they love you. I had to unlearn the idea that quiet meant peace. Sometimes quiet is just avoidance. Sometimes love needs to be shaken awake. Drew and I, we're still learning. Some days are harder than others. We don't always get it right. But we talk now. About the hard things. About the messy, unromantic truths. And we touch each other with intention, not assumption. I don't know what our future looks like. But I know what I need now. I need emotional safety before anything else. I need slowness. I need someone who doesn't just reach for me, but listens when I reach back. And most of all, I've learned to stop shrinking to fit into someone else's version of love. Because I deserve to be chosen fully. Not just touched, but understood. Not just kissed, but known. And maybe that's what intimacy really is, letting yourself be fully seen, flaws, fire, and all, and being met with a softness that says, I see you. I'm still here. That's what I'm fighting for now. Not perfect love. But real love. The kind that starts with me.